Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dairy Raid, and today we're going to take a look at the Badgers defense versus Middle Tennessee. And some of you are thinking that this game was a letdown if we see the quote-unquote dominance that we showed against Miami of Ohio, but I really think this game was a product more of a game plan and more of a strategy going into this game than it was anything special that Middle Tennessee did. Uh, the Badgers coaching staff are challenging the players as much, if not more, than the opposing team was. And I think we're going to see that in this film based on how much they are using different players, how they were employing different strategies, especially in pass coverage, all in an effort to kind of deepen the understanding of who we have on this team and how they could be better utilized and best utilized going forward against tougher opponents like Alabama and then into Big Ten play. So let's get into it here. We're just going to go through the entire first drive of the defense because I think this is a very good kind of microcosm of the day as a whole. All right, so we're going to start here. They are again in what is becoming their base package, base personnel. So it's the 3-down look with 2-4 personnel. They kind of come out of the tight look and back into a 4-down look, And Middle Tennessee is just running wide zone. Now with this here, we're going to see it when we get to the end zone angle. Ben Barton needs to do a better job of creating separation and getting control of his defensive lineman, so he ends up not getting pushed upfield too much. So let's go back to the end zone angle. We can kind of see this here. I want him, when he's getting into control of this offensive lineman, we call a steering wheel technique. And you're literally trying to turn against the direction that this offensive lineman is trying to turn you. And we're going to see that here. You know, he's got some control, but he's just pushing too much for penetration, and he ends up pushing himself behind the play. What he needs to do here is to fight against what this offensive lineman is trying to doing, so he can maintain his position on the line of scrimmage. By doing so, he will be able to be in better position to just reach out like he does here, but he'll be closer to the line of scrimmage. He'll have better chance to actually get a grip. Now, let's go back and we look at how the linebackers are playing this. So this is a smart thing that Middle Tennessee was doing with Reiger at times. You know, it is a zone read, but they also have to make sure that Reiger does not track down the line of scrimmage. So this eventually is going to play into our favor when we need to start getting guys like Allegro and Curtis into this run fit a little bit better, because there's obviously a gap to throw in, but this keeps him from getting down the line of scrimmage. Also, we can see here the reason why Christian Allegro is not fitting this right away is because they are setting up for an RPO. He sees it right away. He can see that 11 is staring at him. He needs to respect the RPO. And then the last thing we'll talk about here with Tackett Curtis, I think the front here, Javier Suggs does a pretty good job holding his double team. Sebastian Cheeks has contained. And this is an awkward in-out kind of play for Curtis. He does need to just get in there, but he also has to be cognizant of the fact that if this spills. In this situation, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 linebackers, 2 down. Okay, Reiger's got his hand down. Daryl Peterson's got his hand down. Brandon Lane's in the game for the first time. Parker Peterson. You know, this is going to be your open field, open formation, run front. When we play against heavier fronts, we might exchange one of these outside linebackers for a defensive lineman. But in this case, against Middle Tennessee, they could do it with their base personnel. We're just removing a defensive back and bringing in a linebacker. So, what can we say on this here? Reiger, this is why I don't like swim moves on the inside in especially run situations, because basically you're opening up your torso to just either, one, get a well-placed hand on your kidney, but here Yes. Is that holding? Absolutely. Is this umpire here going to call it? Not a chance. He's not going to see it. He doesn't see anything. And that's where we end up. Was quite right with this. So that's a look at that. We're up there. Obviously, we're going to go a couple plays here, and they're going to kick a field goal. Not necessarily a great way to start, but we can see what they're doing up front in the box, and you could see their commitment so far early in this game is to go man-to-man coverage. We're going to go look ahead to later in the game and see how the Badgers adjust as we go forward. All right, jumping ahead now, we're into the second quarter. Middle Tennessee has the ball on the Badgers' 35-yard line. Coming out in a 2-by-2 look. We're going to orbit motion into the receiver pass. And this is a really good job of the defense staying home and knowing your position on the field. Defensive backs, they recognize the route running of the receivers. This is not running somebody off. This is just being in really good position. Okay? They bail at the top of the screen. So we're probably working, so we're working zone here where it ends up being, they're rotating to cover 3. So we're buzzing down and he leaves the pocket. Where do you fit in the run game or the pass coverage if there's a blitz? And I think we do a really good job here. We could see one thing real quick. Linebackers were flowing, containing. Allegro is making sure that he's taking care of the hook to curl before he flows over the top. Good overall rep and a really smart rep showing them staying home. Okay, next up we got a 2nd and 6 situation about halfway through the third quarter. 29-yard line. Middle Tennessee comes out in a 3-by-1 look. They are really widening the formation where they got the ball here on the left hash. They've got all the receivers out here on the right, outside of the right hash. And you want to see when you're doing something like this, first thing you're just trying to see how wide will the defense align based on formation? How much will they leave space? How will they occupy that space? And then what you're just trying to do is get the ball out in that occupied space where there may not be enough. And what they're going to run here is they ran this combination a few times where it's kind of an under slant, short slant off of a slot fade and a slant. And they're just working basically a natural pick here. And I think we're in pretty good position to close down on this rep. You've got to be careful with an alignment like this that you're not going to have a deep safety be able to come all the way over the top. So you really need to play the ball in front of you with your read steps. And we can see when we talk about read steps in this alignment here, his first step is going to get free. So when you're looking at a look like this, our nickel, Latimer, is going to have the first short, the first out. Rico is going to have the first vertical because he's in the best position to play outside and in. And then Zachman is going to have the first man in. Our middle linebacker is going to wait for crosser, and we're going to wait for crosser on the backside. So even if this fourth guy stays here, let's just say he stays there, the rules still apply. It's going to be first out, first up, first in, and then hole, man on the backside. That's how you run box coverage. And what we end up getting is Rico sags, but he's just got his eyes too much in the backfield. He needs to be reading the mesh, reading the route distribution, and the outside receiver goes in. Zachman picks him up. The running back runs a little pivot route. He's picked up by Latimer and with our linebacker, and Rico is We've got a first down situation, 1st and 10, 43-yard line. Middle Tennessee is in a 2-by-2. We're going to motion, orbit motion. And this is a situation where I think the quarterback read keep because we ended up getting a slant because we have a scrape exchange blitz on, and just a business decision. It's like, I don't want to run full speed at a linebacker. So we'll look at the box. I think they do a pretty good job here. This little exchange blitz does well to create confusion. So we're going to get slants, slant by Lane, slant by Cheeks. Pretty good job here, and I go back too far. Apologize. Hey, Lane and Cheeks. Allegro, or sorry, excuse me, Curtis. Good job staying square to the line of scrimmage. Brandon Lane, just being a big body. Extension, look at that. One arm power. He has control. Don't need the steering wheel when you can just put a hand out and say, nope, this is my gap. Okay. Peterson does all right. He gets double teamed. He swings his hips out. Like see Allegro maybe, again, make a decision a little bit sooner. He should know he's playing inside out right here. And with Peterson looping out, Riger's got the edge. We should be able to think about getting in there, but Lane just eats it up. I'm really happy that Brandon Lane is becoming the player that we kind of hoped he would be last year. And it's going to be a real mainstay in this front seven this year for sure. He's going to be the type of guy that's going to help us against those heavy run teams. All right, later on in the third quarter, we got a 2nd and 3 situation. As an offensive play caller, we love 2nd and short situations because it really opens up the playbook. You can take a shot. You can be creative because worst comes to worst, you're going to come back with a 3rd and short. So they're going to be in a 3-by-1. They're going to run a little flare motion. And they are running sprint bubble draw. And then the key is going to be, in this case right here, the key is going to be Tackett Curtis. We've got bodies in the box. They've got 6 blockers. We've got 6 in the box. This is probably a keep already, to be honest. But as soon as Curtis goes out, we know we're going to go once we get to the top. And he can't get through. That's why he needs to get underneath and then get extension so you can find the football. And he just buries his face into the face of the guard and he can't get through. Daryl Peterson, again, some of his pass rush moves leave a lot to be desired. You know, he swipes the hands away, but his feet don't follow. We need to do better with that. Okay, Allegro does an okay job here staying home. So we turn that in what could have been a big gain into, a decent gain. Is that any kind of consolation? Got to do better up front in that situation, especially when they're letting us get that kind of a push. All right, we're going to continue on with that sequence. We got 3rd down, 3rd and 1. And this is a real key sequence in the game that kind of shuts the door. Short yardage. Another great job by our corners, Amelia Agard, recognizing run and getting in the run fit. Love seeing corners who are aggressive. They have to gain a yard and a half, yard and 3/4. And when you can get an extra hat in the box, that certainly helps things. All right, so again, we're in that heavy nickel look with our 2 down and our 5 linebackers, our 5th linebacker being Aaron Witt. See how we do this up front. Okay, Suggs doing a decent job forcing the double team. Got to keep his eyes up. I don't think you can see the football in a situation like that. Okay, Witt. Nice job squeezing. Focusing too much on pushing in the squeeze. Got to get the eyes up. Okay, he's controlling the gap. They got a little slant on. Daryl Peterson again tries to swim and gets caught swimming, and then just gets walled off. If Witt gets his eyes up, okay, so they got a little slant on. He gets into the double team, turns his hip, so he's running through 50, and then as he gets in the gap, he turns his hip to the guard to keep from getting double teamed. Brandon Lane gets washed out a little bit, unfortunately, but we get a fantastic fill by Christian Allegro. He's just reading this gap right here. Little exchange, boom. Now you got to go. Don't wait. You see it. Go get it. And he certainly does. Ben Barton taking any semblance of a cut, because that's where the running back's looking. He does cut, but there's nothing to cut into. A great rep by our front. Reiger as well, taking on 2.5 blockers at times and is able to clean it up. And this is a good tackles for the Badgers before he leaves. I mean, he's already the most highest. Learn how to talk. He is the all-time leading tackler in the state of Wisconsin in Michael Gardner, another young guy, another transfer guy who is really going to solidify a role in this team. Maybe not right away this season, but he is going to be someone to look forward to down the road. All right, and I think that's where we're going to call it today. A good look at what the Badgers are doing defensively. Big keys to take away from this game is the game was not as close as it may have seemed at the beginning. I think the defense had Middle Tennessee under control. They gave up some plays, absolutely. But the name of the game this week was where last week in pass coverage it was keeping everything in front of us and coming downhill. This week it was we're going to work on our man coverage. We're going to work on blitzing off of that man coverage, being able to get in quick situations, getting the ball out quickly. And for the most part, I think we did okay. A couple fundamental errors that need to be corrected. Obviously, Alabama's going to make us pay for some of the mistakes that we made, but it is all a part of the learning process and the growing process of this defense. I truly believe that the defensive front especially is in a way better position to succeed this year as in comparison to last year, and I think we're in a good position going forward. Will this matter against Alabama? Who knows? Probably not if I'm going to be pessimistic and or realistic. But just it. If you like this breakdown and seeing all the sampling of the defense versus Middle Tennessee and you want to see more, head over to Substack where I did over 2 hours breaking down every single play from this game from start to finish. A lot more detail for the nerds who like to occupy the niche inside the niche that I do. So that's that. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll see you next time.